My name is Stephen Howell. I used to lecture in this room a lot, but I've since moved to Microsoft, where I'm an academic evangelist, which means I go around schools, secondary schools, primary schools, but mostly colleges, and lobby at government level to get STEM, or science, technology, engineering and mathematics, into the classroom. And that includes everything from teaching young children problem solving and communication skills with technology, all the way up to computer programming at university. So what I'm talking about today is, I noticed when I came into the building, well, two things. One, that I was woefully unprepared because I thought this was a different session I was coming to. But then I saw the signs all around the college, which is really excellent, that Glenn and the team have put up, which says this is all about the first year social media experience, which I think is excellent. So I thought, while I was sitting at the back there, let's do something practical. Let's make an app now for running on your mobile phone, which would enhance the first year experience for first years coming into IT Talent. Now, I know that the audience I have here mostly isn't computer programmers. I recognize a few computer programmers here. It's excellent to see you. But most of you, let's be fair, aren't hardcore nerd computer programmers. That's not a bad thing. There's still time for you. You could become one in time. But assuming that you're not a computer programmer right now, you may still want to have the ability to say to your first years or your clients, if you're not going to be a lecturer in the future, here is an app which allows you to consume what I want you to consume in terms of marketing or the social media experience. So Glenn said some very interesting things about, Facebook is blocked, and sometimes you don't necessarily want them to consume everything that's on Facebook. We want to, define the particular content which they're consuming. Now, that doesn't mean you stop them going home and consuming whatever they want. You can't control that. But when it comes to what they are consuming in the classroom environment with your app, then you can define that. So I did a few searches while I was up there, and this is what I found so far. ITTAL has an RSS feed on its website. If you don't know what an RSS feed is, it's a really simple syndication. It's a way of publishing news stories from a website out to whoever wants to consume them. Can you guys, I have a very strange accent, so if you don't understand me, it's not your fault. And I also speak very fast, so if anyone doesn't understand me, tell me to slow down. So when we look up here, this is all the news that's currently on ITTAL's website. And it's all news that someone, I don't know who, but someone in the communications office has published. And there's other RSS feeds as well. I believe the Kelt have one, and there's different feeds. But I've picked this one because it was the first one I found. Then I went and I found ITT Dublin's Twitter account, but I can't actually consume that as an RSS feed. So I've used a third-party process which converts a Twitter feed into, again, RSS. Then I went off and had a look on YouTube, and I found that there's an ITT Dublin 2013 YouTube account that has lots of videos, and it's got great stuff in there, mechanical engineering and all sorts of things. And I want my students to be able to see those videos. I don't necessarily want them to see some other videos on YouTube. So I've defined exactly what I want them to see. And then I went on, I saw a lady there, I don't know your name, but you're in the pink there. Ellen? Hello, Ellen. So Ellen I saw, because I was behind her, and I was looking, I could see that she was on Facebook, so I thought, oh, that's probably an official Facebook, because no student would ever be on Facebook in a non-official capacity. And ITTSU, so you're obviously the Students' Union President or Communications Officer or something. So that was excellent. And then there was ITT Dublin's own account. So assuming, now that took me, what, how long was Glenn talking for? So that's what I did while Glenn was talking. I was paying attention as well, Glenn. I know there's a test. So, oh, there's no test, it's excellent. So what I have here is just a set of diverse products and services from different companies using content which has been published by various different people. And I don't want to say to my students, now, you better go to Twitter and remember to check YouTube and go on to Facebook, but not while you're in here, when you get home, and all that stuff. I want to have it that they load up one app, which I give them, probably for free, and has everything that I want them to know, and it updates automatically. And I don't want to hire a programmer because I'm cheap. Okay? So that's the scenario I'm presenting to you. Does everyone agree and understand what we're trying to do? Yeah. Good stuff. So let's make that app. So there's a free project called App Studio, which is available for Windows phones. And App Studio, it's all fitting on the screen there. It's a little bit cut off. So I'll resize my screen. Tell me when I'm all on the screen. How about there? Ah, look at this now. By the way, because you're Twitterer people, and I love Twitterer people, I'm Sarog, which is a Gaelic term for wildcard or anything and everything. So that's why I used it, sort of everything and anything's up there. A lot of my tweets are about, you know, crazy things my kids have done or are doing, you know, sometimes in the process of doing it. But mostly it's about education stuff and technology. So I'd appreciate a follow or a tweet or a mention or whatever you like to do. Now, so back here, let's make that app. And because my time has been cut down, I'm going fast. So I want to make a new project. I'm going to scroll out here a little bit because the screen is quite small. And in starting this new project, I already have gone away and gathered the information I'm interested in. So when I start off with my empty app, it's really a blank app. And it's going to end up giving me two things. One, it's going to give me a phone app for a Windows phone. This is a big Windows phone. There are smaller ones. In case you're wondering, am I a really tiny person? This is a normal size phone. This is a phone. This is a phone tablet, a phablet. And I didn't come up with the name, but it's quite good. This is the largest Windows phone. There are smaller ones. And it's also going to give me a Windows 8 tablet of any make app ready to go. So you don't have to have a Surface. It could be a Dell or a Lenovo or a HP or whatever it is. And it'll run on that. So this will be quite cool because I want you to stop me if you see me doing any programming. Now, I know there's going to be some devastated first-year computer science students here saying, well, that app's kind of removed our job. Well, it hasn't. This does the groundwork, the initial stages that you can do without the programmer. It also gives you the source code or the underlying DNA of the program to bring to the very expensive programmer. You know, like Fernando there at the back, and say, Fernando, I'll pay you €1 million if you just finish this app off for me. But we're not going to do that. Sorry, Fernando, we just don't have the time today to pay you. So when we click create, it actually creates a blank app with nothing in it. And because it's for a first year IT Tala, we're going to call it IT Tala first year. I probably should have written first year. We better change the logo as well, because the logo is just blank, and there's a pen and a book. That looks good. Maybe you could go with coffee and newspaper. No, maybe not. If we had pillars in IT Tala, I'd pick this one. It's kind of like IT Tala there, that icon. But I kind of like this one. Like, it looks like you're hard at work, you know. So we'll go with that one. So that's our logo sorted. And of course, I could import the real logo, but I didn't think of doing that. So then we go down here, and you'll notice that I have several different sections available to me. And these are the different types of content I want to include in my app. And I have a maximum of 6 to include. Now, I already mentioned Rss Feed, so I'm going to include a few of them. I have just plain HTML, and if you don't know what that is, that's just static content like words or images that I want to include. So they'll appear in the app always, but they're not updatable. They won't live update. RSS will. YouTube is what it sounds like. It's a list of YouTube videos on a particular user. Flickr sounds like it is. I did try to find a Flickr account. My photographer friend up there, I bet you have a Flickr account, and it's got gigabytes and terabytes of photos, but I couldn't find one for IT Tala, and I couldn't ask you in advance. Then a Bing search, it can be a news, weather, or just plain web search. And then, of course, Facebook, which is the one you guys would really be interested in. So what I'm going to do now is very quickly, because you know Glenn tells me I'll be in trouble if I go over, is I'll start with a HTML section. And I'm going to call this About. And down here I can type in absolutely anything, and because we're in a hurry I'm not going to do a lot. You can type whatever you want in here, and you'll notice that if you've done a bit of HTML, and I think nearly every student in the world now does a little bit of HTML somewhere. I remember a time when Mary and I were the only people teaching HTML in the whole college, and now it's sort of a standard thing. But what we'll do is we'll say this is the IT Tala first year experience social media app, and we say confirm. So again, you would, if this was a real app, put a lot more content in there, but you can see it's already given me a preview of what it would look like. It's a little bit Darth Vader, black and white. We might want to save that and change the colors before we go on. I'm going to pick light blue because I'm going to pretend that that is the colors of IT Tala. I can go with a light theme, so it's black and white, and I can go on white and black. But to be honest, I like this blue and white. I think that's nice. So I can also put a background image, but we're in a hurry. So if you're into your design, change the colors to what you like. So I'm going to come back into our content now, and our content is updated to look like how it looks with our new theme. And then I say, well, okay, we want some of these RSS feeds. So I select RSS, and looking up here at my, my news feed, this is the most important RSS feed I'm going to have. So I copy and paste that particular URL, Uniform Resource Locator or web link. So that's it there, itttala.ie/rss/news/index.cfm, and the section name, I'm going to call it news, because that's exactly what it is. And I can call it anything, but news is good because that's what it is. Now it will go away, pull down that data and show it to me here, and that's the data already in there. Now you'll notice that whoever is updating that, and I don't know who it is, but someone is updating that website, that RSS feed. They could be in this room, I don't know. Margaret, you probably know who it is, I don't know who it is. But whoever it is, sometimes they include pictures and sometimes they don't. So you'll notice that the app has determined that sometimes it should put in a picture, a Coder Doja in IT Tala, and sometimes it's a no picture found. Now I have a choice here. I can go away and say, never show the picture because it doesn't look good when there's no picture there. Or I can say, well look, the user will understand. Sometimes there's pictures, sometimes there isn't. Following that, I save that, remember to save. I say, well, I'm going to add a Twitter feed now. And remember I told you I had to use a third-party service to convert that Twitter feed, but I've already done that, and it's very easy to do, you just paste it in. So I say, look, I want another RSS feed, only this time I'm going and call it Twitter. And again, if Glenn was making this for his own students, Glenn, of course, would probably have a different Twitter account. I'm just using IT Tala's standard one. Same for all your students, you would use your own Twitter account. So again, we paste that in, confirm it, and hopefully it will go off and pull that in. So now we have the news, and there we go. Now you'll notice that there's no pictures in that Twitter feed. So this gives me a good opportunity to say, well, we need to edit this a bit, and usually that means programming, but not so here. When I click edit, all I'm going to tell it is the way to display the information which comes back needs to change. Currently it's a headline and then the actual tweet and a picture, and I'm going to say no, there's no picture, so select a different layout. There's the layout. And that was easy. And I click save and go back. And the next one we had was YouTube. And you notice I'm going quick here because I'm afraid of Glenn. But when we were creating all these content, I'm not actually doing any programming here. If you think that's what programmers do all day, I have bad news for you. The reason we pay them lots of money is because it's harder than this. But this is a quick way for you as a non-programmer to create an app and actually have it ready to go. And can I just say that we have done this experiment using this tool, App Studio. We've done it with UCD Smurfit Business School digital marketing students, and we've done it with DCU's marketing students who are postgrads as well. 300 apps were created just by students using this tool, and they're all about tourism apps. So they didn't need any functionality from a computer programmer. They could create this simply by using the tool provided. And if they could do it, there's absolutely no reason why every student in this room couldn't create their own apps too. Now, following along from that, all I need from this is the particular name of the user. Are you looking for another photo, sir? Do you want me to pose? No, okay. And no posing, fair enough, you know. So now when we're adding in YouTube, it automatically asks us for the section name. I'm just going to call this videos. But we also have to tell it whether it's a user. Yes, it's a user, and here is their. Okay, I obviously didn't cut and paste that right. It's ITT Dublin 2013. ITT Dublin 2013. And when I confirm that, it should pull in the YouTube video feed. Now it doesn't just pull in the feed, it puts in the logic behind it so that if I click on that on my phone, it'll load the video and play it, which usually is a couple of lines of code, but I don't have to write them. And that's what we want to keep in mind here. We are reducing the sort of, there we go, it's the video with the headline, a bit of content, a little thumbnail. And this makes life very easy for us. And of course, finally, our Facebook ones. Okay, you have to get my good angle. I don't think this is my good angle. So when we go for Facebook, cancel, we'll save. So will we do the Students' Union or IT Dublin, or both? We'll try both, okay? So ITT Dublin's Facebook name is itt.dublin. And when we come over here and select Facebook, we'll call it FB IT Tala. And the page will be like that. Now, I haven't done it like that. Page found. Confirm. Did I did. Now when we go over to that, hopefully it'll show us the Facebook information. And if you're on that page, you can tell me if it's right. Does that look right? Ken Carroll from ITT Dublin meeting Professor Patricia Cardoso. That looks right to me. I'm not on the page, but sounds right. So I could add it in Students' Union now, no offense. but I'm afraid of time here. How am I doing for time anyway? Glenn has left the room. He's so upset that I've gone over time. So when we click save here, I do want to show the next bit. So at this point, we now have an app designed. It has several pages I can swipe through. Each one has got different content. And it's using what we call a pivot format, so that we have multiple pages on a horizontal row, but we can scroll up any of those. So we have multiple different sections. So I'm not going to do anymore. I'm going to click finish. And at this point, it's now saying, well, are you happy with your app? Is that your whole app ready to go? Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I want to test it out in a real phone, though. Okay, and this is where it gets really cool. Because Glenn mentioned that a smartphone is what most people consume it by. Now, the cheapest smartphone you can get is probably one of the non-Samsung Android ones. I don't know, it's been a while since I've bought one. But the cheapest Windows phone is a Nokia Lumia, which is €80, a 520, which is about €80 off contract. Okay, so you can actually have a smartphone. Now, it's your starter smartphone. It's not going to have all the features that this monster has, but this costs 700 quid, so there's a difference between them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my app on this phone, and I can put it on any Windows smartphone. And I'll show you how I do that. So, assuming I can get a phone signal in here. No, I have 4G, so we're good. So I click generate, and I tell it I want a Windows phone app. And it goes away onto the cloud, onto the Azure cloud, Microsoft's cloud computing, which is actually in Sandyford. It's not very far away. And it actually builds this app and sends it back to me. So I don't have to have any development tools on my laptop. So there it is done. And it says scan that QR code. I remember when QR codes were going to be all the rage, but this is the first time I've actually had a reason to use QR codes. So I'm now going to scan that. So scanning this on my laptop. I should be closer than that. And it's come up with the link. I press the button for the link, so please install that for me. And it's now downloading. Can you see that there? So it's downloading this app. Would I like to install it? Do I trust IT Tala first year from Microsoft Corporation? Well, I do trust myself. So I click install. It will actually open that app and install it on my phone directly. Okay? So next I'm actually going to load that app. So I scroll down to I for IT Tala, and I'm just going to show this. You look like a very trustworthy person, Holly. Okay. Can you see IT Tala first year there?
I can.
You can. So I click that to open, and here it is opening the app, and it has already opened it very quickly. And I have about, this is the IT Tala first year experience. Swipe onto the news, swipe onto Twitter, swipe onto the videos. I'm going to load up a video. So here we click on the video, click on that, and it should open the video in a moment. I'll hire it up so you can hear it.
Hi, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'm studying mechanical engineering.
And sorry, Paul, but we don't want to watch you anymore. And the entire app is pre-built and ready to go. The only thing left to do is to upload this to the App Store, which you can do with a couple of clicks. So what we've done is we have created an app which we could give to a software developer who has computer programming experience like yourself, and you could open it up and edit it and change all sorts of things. Or you could say, I'm happy with it as is, stick it up in the Windows 8 phone store, and then everyone in the world, assuming you make it for free, who wants to can download it. So you could say that it would take about an hour for it to be accepted it has to be checked to make sure it's not instructions on how to murder people or something. You know, once it's been accepted as a proper app, then you could just tell your students, this is in the store, get it now. Again, there's multiple different platforms you have to be aware of. There's all sorts of other platforms. Unfortunately, they don't necessarily have a tool that does this, but you can hire a programmer and say, that's what I want to go do it. How much will that be? But what I've shown you is that with a little bit of research, which I did sitting at the back there, I can find the RSS feed if it exists, the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Flickr, pull them all into an app, have it ready to go on my phone and tablet. And it wasn't very hard, was it? You just saw me do it live, and we're finished, and it's done. Okay? And the really cool thing is you saw me just install it on my phone by scanning the QR code. And finally, if you look down here, you can see that it gives you the publish packages, what you would submit to Microsoft to publish it, and the source code ready to go. So, although I had intended to do something slightly different when I arrived here today, I'm only joking, I didn't mistakenly go to the wrong session. The idea I had was I would talk about how Microsoft uses social media in education, but I think it's more interesting to say how you could use it in education. Because this is about the first year experience. I didn't realize that because I never read my emails, sorry Glenn. And to me, it was more exciting to say, well, imagine you are a first year, you have first years. Imagine being given the app which condenses all the content ready to go. That doesn't stop you going onto the Facebook page and doing other things. Of course not. but it does give the lecturer a jumping off point to say everything you need is there. If you're not socially media savvy, everything you need is in the one app. If you are socially media savvy, off you go, do your thing. The next step I would say is that this is all content consumption. It's pulling down the data. It's not creating data. I think the next stage, what I would hire the programmers there in the computing degree would be to say, can you put in a new page where I can tweet, where it automatically adds in the hashtag? Or I can post to Facebook, but it automatically figures out or multiply posts it across the different Facebook pages it should be on, or whatever it is. Now, before I take questions, sorry, did my hand get in the way there? Sorry, okay. Before I take questions, I'm going to stand with my hands lower so that the photographer doesn't get a ruined shot of me going like this. When we talk about apps and social media, there is a trend towards all the providers of social media services to lock in the services within their own apps. This is often done for marketing purposes. They want to sell ads and things like that. Some providers are opening it up so that anyone can consume the services, but some are pulling it in very carefully. Now, there's good and bad reasons for both. I'm not criticizing them, it's just an observation. For instance, Twitter are very strict on how you can get tweets out. They prefer you to do it with their app, and there's limits on what you can do without it. Facebook are similar, but a little bit more open. You saw how you could pull in the Facebook feeds there. And then there are other services which are completely open. Here, consume the data, do whatever you like with it. LinkedIn is an interesting business one that I use mostly in how I engage with students. How many people here who were at my last talk in the college only about a week ago connected to me on LinkedIn after I gave out and said you all should connect with me on LinkedIn? So I know you guys did. So there's at least 4 or 5. So that to me is more important because I get a better view of a student because they're giving me the professional view they want of themselves. Twitter, unfortunately, there's a number of my students who are great students and excellent programmers, but their Twitter handles are frankly embarrassing. I don't need to see neck nominations on Facebook, and if I'm a recruiter, that becomes important. It's funny now, but in a couple of years' time, your first and second years, you will be challenged if someone looks at your public history. So bear that in mind. With that said, though, I think social media is definitely a positive force. How am I on time, Glenn? I'm fine, excellent. I think it's definitely a positive force. When I'm using social media, I concentrate on LinkedIn and Twitter. But internally in Microsoft, we have a social media platform called Yammer. Now, Yammer is a product which we sell out as well, but internally, we use that as Microsoft's internal to the company social media platform. And Yammer looks like Facebook and it's very similar, but you can have product groups and teams, and you can have, it's an amazing flattener of an organization. Remember, Microsoft has 100,000 people in it, 2,000 of them in Ireland. And I don't know all of them, so how would you communicate with the people you should be? Often they find you and you find them through Yammer Groups, which are similar to Facebook groups, where you communicate in a way that is very democratized. I can post and the CEO might post back. And rather than going, well, I'm not worthy to talk back to him, Yammer makes it that you can have that chat. Whereas I wouldn't email the CEO because, I'm not important enough. But it's amazing to see that, especially with the younger members coming in who've probably gone through in the future Glenn's course on social media, they will see that the Yammer interaction is natural and email is a bit strange. And I remember when I worked in IT Tala, and I might go a week without getting any emails except from the odd student. Whereas now I'm getting hundreds of emails a day. And that's a big change because I was in an organization that email had come into. Now I'm in an organization that they're actually moving out of email more towards Yammer. And that evolution will continue. Okay? So I hope you've enjoyed my talk. I've been delighted to be invited here to speak to you, and you were a great audience. I can take questions. The question, I think, is that are we using social media, for instance, in multinationals like Microsoft in a way that's different for the common consumer? Well, I can't speak for other companies. I do know that some companies have internal, company-only, secret social networks. I don't know whose water I've robbed, but I'm drinking it. So, Yammer was a product that Microsoft purchased, which was designed for enabling social media in the enterprise internally. However, it doesn't have to be on the enterprise. Your local school board could use it to keep track of. Currently, people Shanghai services where the creator has an idea of what it will be used for, promotes it as such, and then discovers to their shock that it's not used for that at all. So for instance, I'll switch this back. For instance, when you are thinking about Twitter, Twitter was not originally designed for what it's being used now. Facebook was used to figure out who was single on campus. You know, I know some people still use it for that, but that's not, and that wasn't the only reason. I know. No, I've seen the movie too. But the idea is that when we look at how it's being used now, you have professional organizations. If you're in the photography club, you might run a Facebook group or page and keep in touch that way. And it's as soon as it becomes in a professional organization that you have to say, is it appropriate for me to be putting company information on Facebook just because it's convenient? Twitter is public, obviously, so you wouldn't do that. But imagine if you were to say a Google group. There's nothing wrong with Google and Facebook on their own, but if I post company information, especially in a third level college, I mean, Google Docs is great, it's a wonderful product, but should I be publishing student results on it? And English lecturers have told me that they've been visited by what they call the information police, who say, we've discovered you're using Google Docs and storing student numbers on it, that's not allowed. And again, Kelt would give you better details on that than me, but the same thing worries us in Microsoft because we have a competing product, Office 365, and are we secure? Are we making sure we're following every law? Are we making sure the information stays in Ireland or in Europe or whatever the legal requirement is? So it's an evolution which I think is hard to keep on top of, but generally if someone's selling you a product to do it, it's probably because in their mind it will fulfill the legal and security complications of what they're worried about. I think what you have to worry about is when you're shanghaiing a product that Facebook have never told you to run your business on Facebook, but a lot of people run their marketing business on it. And you have to say, well, will there be other implications down the line?